Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the Tampa Pro, this weekend's bodybuilding competition, August 1st through the 3rd. We've got their competitor list finally out. And I gotta say, so far, I'm really liking this lineup. You've got Lewis Breed from the UK. Tim Budesheim is back for more. Christian Caldwell. Yi Shan Chang, Phil Clahar, Alfonso Cremarte, Jon De La Rosa. So John's been posting a lot of really impressive updates. I'll show one later in this video. But he's a guy that I was wondering which show he was doing because he's been looking like he's in really good shape. But we'll talk about that later. So John's doing it. Mo Fuda, who just won the Chicago show, is back looking for another professional win. Dorian Haywood, Jordan Hutchinson is back. Hamza Jawad, Charlie Young, Rico Lara Rivas, Jason May, An Nguyen, Felix Norman, Sarhan is also back. Nate Spear, Vlad Sukaruchko, who was runner-up in Chicago, is back. Mariusz Tomzuk, and Eric Wood. So I really like this lineup. The guys that stand out to me, obviously, are going to be Tim Budesheim. Jon De La Rosa, I think, can really shake things up in this lineup. Mo Fuda has got to be one of the favorites here, considering the fact that he just won Chicago, so he's a standout guy. Also looking at Vlad Sukaruchko back in this lineup, who was runner-up in Chicago. Those are the guys that are standing out to me as Tim, Vlad, Mo, and, of course, Jon De La Rosa. Always impressive. And actually, I'll go ahead and show a couple updates from Jon. These are just from the last couple days, so a week out from the show. This back double bicep here, you can see he's got a lot of detail. He's in really good shape. He also posted a side tricep, a side chest recently. The most recent video being this video from his coach, Patrick Tour, hitting a rear lat spread again, where you can see the level of conditioning that he's in. A lot of detail. So this will be an interesting one because although you've got kind of a rematch of a lot of these guys that we've seen at a lot of the shows, here recently, Tim Budesheim, Vlad Sukaruchko, Mo Fuda, and again, I think Mo has to be the favorite going into this lineup. Jon, I really think, could shake these things up, and he could potentially be a front runner here ahead of Vlad, ahead of Tim. Don't count out Jon De La Rosa in this. I think he's looking pretty impressive in these updates. And I think probably tomorrow we'll do a full Tampa Pro preview video with recent physique updates from all of these guys. But we got other stories to get to today. And I think the big one that I really wanted to touch on was the recent updates from Neckzilla, Rubiel Mascara, post-show after this weekend's Dubai Pro, where he had a pretty poor showing. He placed 4th. He came out after that show and in a video talked about his reasoning, or I would say his excuses, for why he looked the way that he did. So there was this post by Who is the Best Bodybuilder, an Instagram page I'm sure a lot of you guys follow. This is kind of the transcript from the video that Rubiel was saying these things. And he says, as quoted in that picture there, the week before the show, I got sick. I was on medication for 3 days, and my sponsors forced me to compete. The caption being, Rubiel opens his mind about what happened to the Dubai Pro and reveals that he got a bad flu-like a week before the event that forced him to take health medications. The Colombian Beast comments that his sponsors forced the situation for him to compete despite not being in the best health condition. And there was also another post from Fernando Arroyo, another bodybuilding Instagram page that you guys might follow, that also included that video, but that appears to be deleted. But it had the video where he's saying this stuff on that post. But that post is now gone. The caption on this one, Rubiel Mascara, and then it quotes him, I wasn't going to compete. A week before, I was doing very well, and we traveled to Abu Dhabi. I got sick, hadn't told anyone before, but I got sick. The change in climate affected me a lot. I got the flu, I got a fever, I got chills, and I was on medication for 3 days. During those days, I had very high fluid retention. I thought I wasn't going to compete. I talked to our sponsors. I talked to the people close to me, and I said, I'm not going to compete. I don't feel well. I have fluid retention, and the tuning up, I'm assuming he means prep, is going to be fatal. And they told me it's already here, so compete. Now, I'm not sure why this post is gone now, but it is gone. And again, Rubiel blocked me, so I can't see his page anymore except through burner accounts. But apparently he also blocked the Who is the Best Bodybuilder Instagram page, who also reported on this. So I don't think he likes anybody criticizing him, which, as we've learned over the years, especially on this channel, that seems to be a common symptom of a lot of professional bodybuilders. But I wanted to speak on this for a second, so I'll show some videos of Rubiel from the Dubai Pro while I talk about this. I feel like Rubiel is making a bit of a mistake here. Like I said in the videos from the Dubai Pro, Rubiel, he is a freak. He was the biggest guy on stage by far. Crazy, just sheer muscle mass on this guy is unmatched. Nobody is denying the guy's a freak. He's got a lot of potential. But is he going to waste that potential is the question. And it's posts like this, which maybe he might have deleted it realizing that it was a stupid post, that give the appearance of just making excuses and passing the blame. Now, one of the reasons why I said this in one of the videos that I made that I think is the reason for Rubiel blocking me is I found a Spanish podcast from 2 months ago, 8 weeks out from the Dubai Pro, where in that video, and again, this was still 8 weeks out, this is not recent, he was blaming his sponsors for making him have a difficult prep and blaming them for his coaching situation, blaming them for having to compete in the Dubai Pro. He was saying he was stressed and he didn't really want to do it. So even back then, 8 weeks ago, bear in mind in this recent excuse, he's saying that he was sick only the week of the show, but he was doing the same thing where he was making excuses and blaming his sponsor at 8 weeks out from the show. So I'm not super convinced in this situation that it was the medication or that he was just so sick that made him feel this way, because one of the reasons why I'm showing you guys these videos from the Dubai show is, if you guys remember, one of the things that really stood out about Rubiel was the energy that he had on stage. He was dancing, he was smiling, he was fist bumping, he was having a good time. This doesn't look like a guy who said he had the flu, he had the fever, he thought he might die if he prepped for this show and was on all kinds of medication. He looked very healthy at the show, very happy at the show, very energetic on stage, not really looking like a guy that's on, death's doorstep here. But I think you combine that with the fact that he was already passing blame onto his sponsors at 2 months out, already making like preemptive excuses for why he might not look good at this show. And again, this was 2 months away from the show. He was already making these excuses. He's like building this track record that's not good. And I talked about this with him just skipping the shows that he skipped. And I don't know that we ever really got an actual excuse or explanation from Rubiel. I think he said something about a visa issue in regards to the Arnold Classic Ohio, but I don't think that would have applied to the Arnold Classic UK, which would have been easier for him to travel to. And then also the New York Pro. Those 3 shows that he skipped, we got the visa excuse, but never really a super clear reason on why he skipped all 3. And all 3, and I've said this multiple times, I know you're probably tired of me saying it, but all 3 are a very big deal to a pro bodybuilder that's getting a ton of hype online. Very young pro bodybuilder, brand new. I mean, just made his pro debut late last year in the IFBB. Brand new pro, only 1 pro show under his belt at that time, and invited to 3 of the biggest shows in bodybuilding to just skip them and not really give a reason why. And now for this one, it seems like he's trying to blame the sponsors and say they forced him to compete. And I think the other piece of that I didn't like is he might be a young bodybuilder, but he's a grown man. Nobody can force you to do anything. And it sounds like he doesn't want to stay with these sponsors because he's blaming them for a lot, so he might not have to worry about them in the future anyway, so they can't serve him as an excuse in the future. But if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. If you say you think you're going to die because you're so sick, and if you continue prep, it's going to seriously harm you, they can't force you to do it. Just tell them no. So I really just say all this to say that I feel like, and I felt like even when he skipped those shows, that Rubiel is at a very pivotal point in his career where he's got, or at least he had, it seems like people are kind of turning the tide a little bit on him now, but he had a ton of hype online. Everybody's talking about him. He could have cashed in on that and done the Arnold or done the New York Pro, done one of these big shows, and really took advantage of the momentum that he had. But instead, he's at this pivotal point where he's blowing off shows, and then he finally picks a show, says he's going to do it. He comes in off, I would say, one of the worst conditioned guys in the show, but still took fourth, comes in very off, and then is just making excuses and blaming people left and right, even before the show. Now, after the show, he's still doing the same thing. So my biggest critique of Rubiel isn't even necessarily the conditioning that we saw from him at this Dubai Pro. My biggest critique, I would say, is I don't know if his head is really in the game with this thing. Skipping the shows, making these excuses, coming in this off. Maybe it was that he was sick. Maybe it was the medication, but I kind of doubt it. Or maybe it's more likely that he was just not committed to the diet or committed to the prep. Maybe he can't follow instructions. He doesn't seem to be super committed to this. And then, I don't really necessarily care that he blocked me and then blocking these other people that I don't even know what they said about him. But he's like showing all those signs of just young, kind of immature, inexperienced guy. And I think nobody wants to hear the excuses. He's just making so many mistakes back to back. The Arnold UK, the New York Pro, blaming the sponsors. When you come out and have a poor performance at a show, people don't want to hear excuses. Somebody forced me to do it. I was sick. They still made me do it. People want to hear, look, I messed up. I'll do better next time. And maybe here's the next show that I'm doing. Or maybe I'm taking a break to fix this, this, and this. And the reason that I'm fixating so much on Rubiel is because he does have so much potential. I know to him it probably seems overwhelmingly negative and probably overwhelmingly critical, but if he were a bodybuilder that I thought just sucked and had no potential, I wouldn't spend this long talking about him. The reason why is you look at this guy's physique and he starts conversations. He turns heads. People talk about this guy. He could have a really serious future as a pro if he takes this seriously. But I'm getting the vibe that he's not based on all the decisions that he's made up until this point. So while Rubiel, if you're watching this, even though you don't speak English, so I still don't really know why you blocked me, you are arguably one of the most muscular dudes in the IFBB right now. Arguably one of the freakiest dudes in the IFBB right now. So I'm saying all this to say if you get it together, stop making excuses, stop skipping shows, stop worrying about blocking people, and you come in conditioned. If you fix all those things, you would be a serious threat in the IFBB. You would be winning shows for sure if you came in shape. And hell, maybe you're telling the truth and maybe your sponsors are just horrible people and forcing you to do stuff and making you stressed and uncomfortable and all that. If that's the case, dude, get a new sponsor. Because it doesn't even sound like you like these guys. So all I'm saying is, dude, don't waste your potential. You've got a ton of it, and so far, it seems like you're letting it slip. And just remember, there's a reason we're talking about you, even if right now it seems critical. It's because you've got potential, dude. You can be great. And speaking of greatness, this is a good segue into my Chris Bumstead story. Chris Bumstead posted really the first real physique update of his Olympia prep this year at, I guess, what would be 10 weeks out-ish, maybe 10 and a half from the Olympia. This is really the first revealing, not just a training video or training picture, physique update that we've seen from Chris. And I'll tell you this. I think this is my prediction for the Classic Physique Olympia very early on. I think Chris is doing the Olympia. I think this physique update kind of shows us that. He's in shape. I think he's obviously prepping, looking at this update. He's obviously dieting. He's obviously still on gear. I know that a lot of people have speculated maybe he's going to retire. Maybe he already did his last Olympia. I think this will be his last Olympia. I think he will compete. I think he will win his last title. And then I think he'll retire on stage with his daughter. He'll probably bring his daughter on stage, bring his wife on stage, But I do think that's what this picture confirms. That's the significance, is that he is getting ready for the Olympia. I don't know how you could look at this and think he's not. I think that if he were not doing the Olympia at this point, he wouldn't be on anything. He would have cycled off. He'd be focused on health. He probably wouldn't be dieting. He probably wouldn't be nearly this big, nearly this lean. And look, let's be honest. Why wouldn't he do it? Ramon's not going to beat him. Let's be honest. Ramon was runner-up. Ramon's not going to beat him. After what we saw at the Arnold Classic, Ohio, and I love Ramon. I love his physique. But him losing to Wesley Vissers, and again, I love Wesley too, but Wesley hasn't even come close, really ever, to Chris Bumstead. Even though, albeit this is the best Wesley ever looked at that Arnold Classic, I don't think Ramon has a chance at beating Chris Bumstead this year. Honestly, I don't. Urs and Breon as well. I think if Chris Bumstead comes into this 2024 Mr. Olympia conditioned and on point, which he has pretty much every single year now, so no reason to think he wouldn't, I think he 100% wins again. So if you were going to retire, which is something he said he's thinking about, I think that's when you do it. He'd go out, do one more. Especially since he said the last prep was so mentally and physically draining on him, and that was when he started considering retirement. Win this one, go off into the sunset. That's what I think he's going to do. But let me know what you guys think about all these stories in the comments down below. Like I said, make sure you subscribe because probably tomorrow I'll do the Tampa Pro preview video. But like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.